Today's exercise, it's simulated that a local aircraft, a helicopter was stolen, and the intel that built up to that was that there was some suspicious activity going on by one of the sovereign citizen groups, and they had malicious intent. So the aircraft that was stolen the following day, they dispersed anthrax along the corridor of Highway 77, which is adjacent to Fort Jackson and got a fence line there. And part of the contamination got on some soldiers that were training. Our next step was first and foremost was to cordon off the area. What we do is called a plume, so we know where the contamination is going using wind speed and all other types of pertinent data. Once that's been cordoned off, the fire department comes in full level A, which is an overpressurized suit with the actual air tank, and they do decontamination operations for those who can be cleaned up. Upon their completion, EMS takes over the scene, our ambulatory chief, and those who can be actually moved or can walk, they're going to be evacuated by ambulances to two hospitals. One is Palmetto Baptist, who's working in partnership with Moncrief, our Army hospital, so we get to validate, what agencies are supporting us. Once that main scale portion is up and moving, we tailor into what we have here, which is our Strategic National Stockpile, or POD. Long story short on that is during a disaster or pandemic, outside the gates, they have an open pod. So, DHEC will set up stations at CVS parking lots, USC Stadium, what have you. Anyone can go. But what's particular for us is we're a closed pod, which is for DoD ID card holders. So it's a little bit larger than just Fort Jackson, and which is why DHEC wants to support us, because we're helping out a large portion of their population as well. Of course, active duty, family members, but you have reservists and a very large retiree base outside of Fort Jackson. So they come here for treatment, and we try to prepare to receive the brunt of that portion of the community. Right now, we know everything from what power constraints we may have, communication, which is a very crucial piece with any type of disaster. Everything here that we're doing is for real world events. So, yes, it's training. We're getting a great training value out of it. But just as we set it up today for this training event, we would use it for real world. So, checks and balances across the board.